KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Salam, my family. Salam, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. Shout out to my brother Karis out there on the continent doing the business. If y'all can, go over there and support brother Karis at Covenant Awakenings. He's over there doing the work. Shout out. So just a little caveat before we get started here, because this is going to be my shows are usually long anyway, but it's going to be a little longer, more than likely, than usual. And this is a part one, right? And this particular topic can go deep and, very deep. But, I want to also, for those, Gentiles out there listening, because, some people classify all Gentiles the same, and, it's no throwing shade at any particular group of people, but the truth is the truth, and we're gonna talk about this in a balanced way. So if, like I've always said in the past, if the shoe fit, then wear it. If it don't fit, then it's not you. And, we have a habit within the Israelite community to paint with a broad brush, right? Like, some people believe Gentiles can't be saved, right? And, that's obviously against the Torah. But, there is something going on within this world that is supernatural and physical, and you just don't see it every day. We live in a matrix, right? We live in a simulation, right? And like Sim City, if y'all ever played the game. And you could tell we've been managed. We've been pushed into certain categories. You're going to be a teacher, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be poor, you're going to be this and that. If you compromise, you can move up to this level, this whole hierarchical thing. Sort of like what you see, if any of y'all watch anime, there's always progressions of levels. That's pretty much how we live. That's not the way we were designed to live. That's not the way the Most High created us. But I'm going to say this, there are Gentiles, in my opinion. Okay, there are Gentiles, in my opinion, who are not fully human. Okay, now some of the attributes that I'm going to be talking about, like I said, you might have one or two of the attributes, right? But you may not have all of the attributes. But if you have all of the attributes, I'm just saying you might not be fully human. I'm just saying, that between you and the Most High, not my place. But what we're dealing with is, look, it comes down to this. Either you believe the scriptures or you don't, right? That's what it comes down to. Now, you may disagree with my interpretation. That's fine. But I would say you do yourself a disservice if you don't remove the Christian lens. And when I say Christian lens, I mean Christian teachings, Christian indoctrination, right? Which isn't Torah, which isn't biblical, not the biblical message, not the biblical hermeneutics. It's what man has made. And they make it sound all good and sweet, like you on the right track. And all you got to do is believe in Jesus and you okay and blah, 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 blah. Well, if you study the Torah, there's a little bit more nuances to that. Look, you ain't coming to the Father except through the Son. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, and I'm not getting into the whole law thing because, y'all need to study that too. I'm just saying that the devil has deceived the entire world. So anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with these little video clips because these little video clips, I'm going to be making points, right? That as I go through my teachings, you can refer back to these video clips and see where some of these things are happening. And people know it, but they may interpret it differently, right? They may see things differently. And, so remember, this is a part one. This is a part one. And so part two, we'll go into, some more detail. And personally, I don't like doing part ones and part twos, which is why my videos are usually long. I couldn't help it this time. It was just too long, right? I couldn't fit it into a reasonable time frame. All right, so let's get started.
Specifically began to teach mankind how to make devices to talk to them. The first images ever used on like a television screen that you and I think of today were the Knights Templar's cross. They were literally channeling these spirits to give them technology to help them have access to their realm. But it was a two-way street, and they were being manipulated because there's obviously levers to pull on somebody to make them give them what you want. They wanted a form of technology. Most of the time it's military or it's for financial gain. And that exchange is what has progressively been building this technology that we have. This is the interface communications platform that these entities now use to get their voice in. And it started right away from the beginning. You can backplay music and hear speech. Even when people are normal singing gospel Christian song, you will still hear other speech coming in backwards. And it's not always demonic sounding. It's not always evil. But when you start playing some of this music backwards, you'll find this artifacts of this phenomenon going on all over the place. Like there was a technology company that I was doing security for, and they were getting their data storage devices petabytes of data storage, huge. That's the beast currency for them. It's going to be data storage. They got the design plans from lucid dreaming and from talking to aliens, entities that came and visited them, that showed them and helped them crack problems they were having. They were doing ritual, not the same kind of voodoo creepy stuff that people would think of, but they were communing with them under a man who was much more the handler of this group, who was an adept in these organizations. And he was teaching them, oh, here's how you can take this psilocybin mushroom. Here's how you can take these different compound supplements. And here's how you structure yourself with fasting and with sleep deprivation. And so that you will have these interactions. That was where their technology for this data storage had its origin points. But that's just one little tiny drop in a big bucket of the story of the chain of custody for where much of our technology has come from.
All right. So he talks about them getting technology from some supernatural means, right? And we're going to come back to this. I just want you to keep that in mind, that, you know, it's not just the scriptures talking about this. It is people in their everyday lives, right? They're saying this is how we have grown and, elevated so fast with the technology we have. Like even when he was talking about the data, you know, my brother and I always talk about how you go from, megabytes of data to terabytes stored on, one little flat, storage medium. You know what I'm saying? So a USB drive, right? It's insane, right? And so he pretty much, letting you know where this technology comes from, because it's exponential. And that's what we've always said, that this technology is coming from the supernatural. But, I'm going to get into the facet, because this is one of the attributes that we need to keep in mind as we identify who the serpent seed is and who controls this world and what we're really dealing with. Because, like I said, we've all been, we're pretty much NPCs in a SimCity simulation. Okay. And NPCs is non-playable characters, right? Most people are non-playable characters, right? They're conditioned by the media. They're programmed. That's why it's called programs. They're programmed by Hollywood, by social media to do X, Y, and Z, to be either A, B, C, D, E, F, Gs or not, right? To be binaries or whatever they call themselves. They're programmed to fit a certain category and box, and they don't know it, right? We're in this sim program and we're NPCs. So the question is, where you're getting your data from, right? So what did they say in computer programming, right? Bad data in, bad data out, all right? That's what you're dealing with. Bad data in, bad data out. A lot of people got a lot of bad data, but you get to determine which data you use, right? So let's continue here, because I'm gonna be making these comparisons, because this is how you identify the true serpent seed. And that's why I'm trying to let y'all know beforehand, because this is going to get into race. This is going to get into, different groups of people over the years and what they've done. But, it may not be you just because you fit one of the attributes, and it could be you, right? It all depends. You're going to know. But anyway, let's continue.
What do you mean? Can you define Mr. Global?
Is the committee that runs the world. So
Okay.
There's a committee at the top that makes all the big decisions. And my nickname for it is Mr. Global. So the question is, who is Mr. Global, and why is Mr. Global doing what he's doing? Because when I look at a situation, I like to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like if I was Danny and I was doing this, what would it look like from my point of view? And so I want to put myself in why is Mr. Global doing this? What's Mr. Global's point of view? So anyway, so Joseph and I went through and did who is Mr. Global and why is he doing what he's doing? So we went through all the theories, but some of my favorite comments on the internet is they'll say, well, she worked at the White House and she knows who she's not telling us. It's like, no, everybody at the White House is not sure.
Who's your best guess of who Mr. Global is?
I think you have intergenerational pools of capital, and right now they are over influenced by occult. So I think you have interdimensional intelligence, which is operating demonic intelligence.
Interdimensional demonic intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this thing about good and evil is real.
All right. So once again, we're getting people who worked in the secular world saying the same thing that the Bible has said, right? So, you got these Christians over there, these apologists that say none of this stuff is real. Prophecy has already come to pass. They don't believe in that prophecy is still yet to be fulfilled because they don't know Torah, right? They don't know the scriptures, neither do they care to know the scriptures. All they care about is Christian doctrine. No more Jew Greek, right? Well, let's continue here because it gets a little interesting.
So, going to heaven has never been our goal. And in that sense, Judaism is not a religion. Instead of wanting to go to heaven, which is the goal of most religions, Judaism wants to bring God down to earth. Why? Because that's what God asked. That's what the Torah is all about. God telling us how to bring him down to earth, not how we can get to heaven.
Okay.
So y'all heard that, right? So, that's what he says that Judaism is. Well, traditional ancient Judaism, which was, called Yahwism at some point, which was, the beliefs of our forefathers, right? Which is a African religion, isn't what he said, right? So, one of the things that I'm debating on discussing is, the true religion, right? Which isn't Judaism or Christianity. It is really, it's a African type of belief system. I know the Christians gonna get on me on that, right? But I could prove everything I say. Okay. But, there's nuances to it, right? And identifying the errors, like, everybody has errors today because Israel stopped being a nation. Israel stopped having high priests. Israel stopped having, their scrolls because some of those were taken from them, even though some still have them and they're hidden, right? So, this whole thing is a complex web of deception. And we'll see, like I say, this is a truth ministry. We go deep. This is for the educated Israelites, not for those who be in their feelings and like to hear good tickling words and ignore all of the evil that's happening in the world, right? A lot of people stick their head in the sand and act like nothing happening. Okay, that's the one that's going to be caught in the trap. All right, so let's continue here.
Out from among all the descendants of Esau, descendants of Amalek, male and female, young and old. And that is why Amalek is so terrible, and it has to be totally uprooted. Therefore, God tells us we should erase their memory, and we should eradicate them from the face of the earth. Who is Amalek? Amalek comes from Esau. Esau was a brother to Jacob.
Esau, who in modern day terms is really basically, certainly one of them is America. Esau became Edom, which is a nation. Edom became Rome. Instead of it being Rome, it became Christianity. Christianity, of course, ultimately became Western civilization. So Esau today is really Western civilization. Esau is Europe, the United States.
The throne of God is incomplete until we destroy Amalek.
Any nation that has that religion can be considered Esau.
The audacity, the chutzpah, to destroy Amalek and to cut off the offsprings of the nation.
All right, so y'all hear what they're saying. I'm not going to go into details about it, but basically, in some ways, they are correct, right? That Rome is Edom. We've taught that as well. That Christianity is a belief system or religion of Esau or Edom or Rome, okay? You got to just go back, look at the old videos. If not that, just do your own darn research, right? Now, this whole thing about what they're saying, yeah, exactly. As Minister Tayu say, they're referring to themselves, which is the deception, right? Because here's the deal. All religions are fake. Repeat after me, family. All religions are fake. And why do I say that? It's every religious system that's ran by a man is fake. It is manipulated by the global power structure, right? Now, that's why I was telling you about, what we call, an African belief system is really about your connection with the creator God and Yahuah's spirit. And that's a whole teaching of itself, which is why, y'all let me know if I should teach on it or not. It's very detailed, but it's going to be controversial, right, on what the Bible teaches. I mean, like, if you spend the time in it and see, and understand what's happening, you'll end up agreeing with me. I'm sure some of y'all agree already, but anyway, they are referring to themselves, which is why the Bible says that they're going to say, surely our fathers have inherited lies and things where there is no profit. So, it's like with anything else. A lot of people be in these religions because they believe it, right? Same thing with Christianity. We all was in it because we thought we was on the right path, right? Now, we know Yahushua is the way. Some people call him Jesus. He's the only way. But at the same time, the method of interpretation and, following of that quote unquote belief system is incorrect if you study Torah. Now, it's the same thing with them, right? A lot of what he said there about Esau and Edom and everything was absolutely right. Now, at the same time, the Bible does teach that Israel is going to handle business. I have to say it that way. Y'all know what I'm saying, right? Give me a 1 if you understand what I'm saying. Give me a 2 if you don't. The Bible teaches that Israel's going to handle business. You are my battle axe and weapons of war. So some of the stuff that they were saying is incorrect. It's just that they're not the people. Okay. I'm like, if you believe the scriptures. Okay. Some of y'all don't believe the scriptures. I'm just saying that's what the Bible teaches. You ain't got to deal with my interpretation. Study it yourself. All right. So let's continue. I'm going somewhere with this because we're going to be talking about the attributes, right, of this hybrid rulership that runs the world.
When the black woman gets with the white man and starts getting princess treatment, y'all want us to struggle.
Court documents reveal new details about the murder of a Denton County woman. Lavera Wardell was found dead inside an apartment near Edwards Road and Colorado Boulevard in Denton nearly 3 weeks ago. Well, this week, police apprehended her fiance, William Odo, charged him with murder and tampering with evidence.
Shows on April 1st, Sade Robinson and Anderson went on a date at Twisted Fisherman just west of downtown. Court documents show that Sade's phone was tracked, and it shows her location at Twisted Fisherman and then at Duke's on Water. Court documents also detail her phone was tracked to the area of Anderson's home. After being at Anderson's home for approximately 3 hours and 19 minutes, her phone was then traced to a park in River West for about a half hour. Then court documents show her phone was pinged near Warnemont Park, where the severed leg was found early last week. Within the criminal complaint, authorities say the severed leg did belong to Sade Robinson. In addition to finding the severed leg, authorities say they also found a foot in human flesh, along with Sade's clothes she was wearing, which were inside her burned car.
All right. So y'all know why I'm showing that, right? Basically, the Bible tells us don't mix with them folks. Okay. But y'all, some of y'all say I'm racist. Okay. But here's a good example because, and this isn't the only example. Let's look at the men who were deleted by some of them as well. Okay. Now, they don't do that necessarily to their own. I'm not saying they don't, because they do. But you see this more, with intermixing. Now, hey, you're going to say, give 1 or 2 examples. Well, hey, my dad white, my mama black, and, we ain't had no problems like that and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's you, right? Because like I said, all of them are not necessarily that hybrid race or rulership, right? Some of them, we'll get into the details, but the whole point is, how can you have a mongoose living with a rattlesnake or a mongoose living with a cobra? Oh, but we love each other. No, we're natural enemies. I know Christianity tells you we're not. I'm sorry. You could just look at the world, look at history, look at our relationships back in the past and even today, right? That obviously we're natural enemies. I'm sorry. I know some of y'all got fetishes for us. And some of our women got fetishes for y'all because they think the white man is better than the black man and he got more money. I get it. Y'all been deceived. What? But that's what's been happening. It's sort of like the same people who believe that we're Native American Indians and being America's our homeland, right? They don't know no better, right? We're in deception. The Bible says that the whole world is under the deception of the evil one. Now, you can disagree with me, but I guarantee you cannot go back and prove me wrong through Torah. Go back, pull out your scriptures, and prove me wrong. All you're going to come back with is no more Jew Greek, and I can prove that wrong too. Okay, so my point being is we got to get out of this Sim City, this simulation that they put us in. Look, they didn't build this structure around us. They built this government, these laws. They built these corporations and these buildings and these networks. There's a reason why a city looks like a computer, what they call it, board, a computer board. There's a reason the city looks like a computer board because we're in a managed world. That's what you don't realize. And so when people, just like in the movie The Matrix, when they come and try to tell you, hey, you're in the Matrix, you got those who are going to fight against you. Some that are your own people are going to fight against you because you're trying to bring them out of the Matrix. Look, this whole teaching has nothing to do with hate. All it has to do with is truth. Prove me wrong. That's all I got to say. But guess what? You're going to come to me with one or two scriptures out of context. I guarantee you, y'all already do it. Had one guy on Facebook come and try to, tell us about Paul and the law. And, basically there's no more law. And if you're under the law, you didn't fall from grace. I'm like, dude, we didn't cover that how many times? 100 times? You're going to come here now and try to go watch the videos. Go read the articles. That's what I'm saying. You ain't going to come and basically debunk anything that we've taught because it's all scriptural now. You can have your own interpretation and that's fine. But let's continue because I got a lot I got to get to.
Here and say that just because you're a person of color and you side with conservative white people does not make them like you anymore. As someone who grew up in a conservative white area, I can tell you pretty confidently that there are only 4 reasons that most white people have a friend of color. Number 1 is so that they can say that they aren't racist and they can tokenize you and say that you're one of the good ones while also giving themselves some sort of social credit. Number 2, they like to have people around that they feel that they are smarter or better than in some way. They almost see their friends of color as sort of sidekicks when they're the main character. I think it's disrespectful to put somebody into that role and not recognize their own individuality. Number 3, they keep you around to make fun of you or say things behind your back. And again, the whole tokenizing, look, oh, he doesn't act, insert race here, which probably results in more comparison between you and other in-group members. And number 4, just to have somebody around. Please don't fall into this trap of thinking that just because you say the things that they want and you hang out with them, that they will ever fully include you. Because most races will never see you on the same level as them because they feel they are superior. Just a bad situation to be in. Hi, I'm Kylie.
So my question is she lying? It ain't me saying it. She's saying it. Now, this is something I've said before, but I don't have a problem with all people who not melanated. My whole point is, look, there's something wrong here. There's a genetic problem here. There's a spiritual problem here. There's a disconnect between our people and your people. Let's be honest. I'm like, that's all I'm doing. Let's be honest. But look, I'm gonna tell you, both black, white, whoever, whatever ethnic group you are, right? We all have been lied to, manipulated, right? Redirected at each other, hatred at each other. And some is inbred, some is inherited hate, some is spiritual. Okay, so one more video and then we're gonna get into the teaching. All right, so
people want to erase the history of slavery is because given the chance, they would absolutely do it again. While not all of us subscribe to this system, a lot do. That's why they like our current president, because he consistently, without fail, reinforces the hierarchy of white people on top, followed by everybody else, of native citizens on top, followed by everybody else. I consider white supremacy to be one of the most dangerous domestic threats in the United States. Because if you didn't know, there are estimated this many active members in white supremacist organizations. People like your pastor, your neighbor, maybe someone you've seen giving looks to people of color, but not necessarily saying anything. White people try to downplay the effects of white supremacy, but it's significantly more people than they will admit. And those are just the people who are overtly racist and willing to label themselves as part of this organization, not even the other people who genuinely believe in it without speaking on it. Point being, erasing the history of slavery and erasing the horrible atrocities that happened in this country is a genuine crime. And it's intentional, because if it's erased, those patterns are going to repeat themselves. So erasing this history isn't just ignorant, it's malicious.
So as she said, right, the whole act of erasing our history is to prepare us to be enslaved again, right? And so, you know, they want to do this great reset. That's what they said, right? And that great reset going to set everything back to what it was at some point in the past, you know, let's say the 1800s, right? Where the Negroes going to be picking cottons again. Now, that's what they want. That's not what's going to happen. But here's the thing. They are so slick that the way they plan on doing it is through technology, right? They plan on chipping you, right? They plan on lollipopping you. They plan on removing free will, right, through genetic manipulation to get you to be perpetual slaves. Because is that not what the Pope said? That we would be perpetual slaves. The problem is that all of the people who are not us, right? They're not like us. All the people who are not us, they're going to be slaves as well. Why? Because the pit that they dig for us, they're going to fall into. It's sort of what happened with MAGA, right? MAGA was like, you know, I'm sure y'all seen the videos where this, you know, this white couple had a farm and stuff. And they were like, yeah, we voted for Trump. And we thought he was going to bring us better, more income, better business and stuff like that. Yeah. And hurt Negroes, right? That's what they thought. They didn't think they would be affected. But now all of their workers, all of the migrants are being sent back to Mexico, Venezuela, and all these places, right? And now they're being affected. So now what they're saying is, oh, in the 2026 election, we're going to be voting Democrat. We're never voting Republican again. See, they didn't care about you. It's only when they're affected. Now, you know, some of y'all, look, I'm going to say it like this, right? Like I said, there's white folks I like. Okay? There's white folks I get along with. So don't act like I'm coming here with hate. I'm talking about the group. Okay, I'm talking about the group. I'm talking about the nation. If y'all want to call yourself a nation, I know y'all different groups of people, but the group, right? This is what I'm talking about today. So don't take it personal. Like I say, if the shoe fit, then wear it. If it don't fit, then don't take it personal. It's not you. Okay, so let's get into this. All right, so hybrid rulers. Children of the Watchers, part 1. I really only wanted one. I mean, you know, I didn't want to do part 2, but I couldn't get around it. All right. So European cannibalism, slavery, and the echoes of Enoch. The Watchers and their children. The book of Enoch describes the sin of the angels who took human wives and produced giants called Nephilim. They were hybrids. Violent beyond measure. Enoch 7, 5-6 records they what? Devoured flesh and drank blood. Now we got to look at these attributes of the children of the Watchers. First Enoch 7, 5-6. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and to drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless one. So they are without law. That's what we have today. A lawless world run by who? I'm just saying. Tradition and even though they claim to be Christian, they're lawless, right? A lot of them. I ain't saying all of y'all. Tradition in the book of Enoch described them as what? Pale. Noah himself was described as white as snow and red as a rose, which alarmed Lamech. First Enoch 106 verse 2. And his body was white as snow and red as the blooming of a rose, and the hair of his head was white as wool. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled and came to his father Methuselah. Now, most people say that, you know, that Noah was an albino. He wasn't an albino. I used to think that myself, but Noah was not an albino. Noah was a black man, just like his mommy and his daddy. Oh, yeah. I'm going to prove it. It's all a matter of interpretation. All right, so let's continue. I'm gonna tell y'all. I'm gonna tell you what he was, brother Rob. I'm gonna tell you what he was. I'm gonna get that and watch. When I tell you, you're gonna be like, "Dang, he right." All right. So Enoch's appearance, a prophetic sign. His appearance set him apart as unique, chosen to carry humanity through the flood. The radiance and light imagery suggests holiness, not corruption. Contrast with the fallen seed, while the Watcher's offspring bore whiteness as corruption, Genesis Apocryphon shows Lamech thought Noah looked like them. Noah's whiteness symbolized purity. In other words, the devil's counterfeit. And Yahuah's true sign looked similar on the surface, but one was defiled and one was set apart. It was not albinism. Enoch describes shining eyes, brilliance, and radiance, more like glory than disease. It's not presented as illness like Gehazi's curse, but as a marker of destiny. Not a curse, but preservation. Noah is described as perfect in his generation, Genesis 6:9, which means his bloodline was untainted by angelic corruption. His distinct look did not mean contamination, but that Yahuah himself marked him as what? One who would restart humanity. Now, what does that mean? One who would restart humanity? In symbolic terms, Noah was what? A messianic figure. Noah was a savior figure. He was a foreshadowing of the Messiah. Oh, yeah, watch. You're going to see. I used to think he was albino too, till you look closely at it. All right, so Messiah figure. Noah's role as deliverer foreshadows the greater work of Yahushua, Moses, and ultimately the glory of Israel in Isaiah 60. Chosen as perfect in his generation, Noah bore Yahuah's radiance. What did he do? Noah bore Yahuah's radiance at birth, marking him as what? A type of Messiah who would preserve a remnant through the flood. Moses carried the same pattern, his face shining with glory as he led Israel through the waters of judgment into covenant life. Yahushua fulfills both, his transfiguration and radiant countenance, revealing the true ark of salvation, the one door through which mankind is saved. Daniel's vision of the Ancient of Days, clothed in blazing whiteness, points to the same divine light. Isaiah 60 declares that what was seen in Noah, Moses, and Yahushua will rest upon what? The whole nation of Israel, or Israelite. Arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of Yahuah is risen upon you. Just as Noah's glory saved a remnant, so Israel's future glory will shine in the last days, drawing nations to the brightness of Yahuah's rising. All right. So did I answer y'all question? Do you get it? What we saw with Noah, because remember, his eyes were bright. It lit up the whole room. His hair was white. Same description of the Messiah we see in Revelation. Same thing we see of the Father in the book of Daniel. Same thing we see with Moses when he had the glory, what they call the Shekinah glory. That's what they call it. But when he had the glory of Yahuah upon him, this is what we see in Noah. He was not albino. It was the glory. And he was a messianic figure who from birth was filled with the Holy Spirit. Oh, yeah, it's deep. And guess what? It's going to also end up being on us, the Israelite, the Yasharal, the Israelites. That same glory that was on Moses, on Yeshua, on Noah is going to be on us, as we see in Isaiah 60, which is why Yahuah says, arise and shine, for your light has come. Oh, yeah, this thing deep. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. What we've been taught in the past wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing. Oh, yeah, this end time scenario, this game being played, this warfare is like 3D chess. And most of us can't follow 2D chess. And so the Most High is revealing in these last days the truth. Oh, yeah. That's why I told y'all, look, I don't be beating up on Christians because a lot of my family's still Christians. I'm just telling y'all need to reevaluate your position. That's all I'm saying. So let's continue. So offspring of the angels, the book of Enoch preserved in the Ethiopian canon, describes the sin of the angels. These sons of God left heaven, took human wives, and produced giants known as the Nephilim. They were not ordinary men. They were hybrids, corrupted in nature, violent beyond measure. So they were hybrids, half human, half angelic, right? Corrupted in nature and violent beyond measure. Who does that remind you of, family? I'm just saying. I ain't, like I say, look, if it don't fit, it ain't you. All right. So Enoch says plainly, and they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and what? To drink the blood. First Enoch 7:5-6. The children of the watchers were not only blood drinkers, they were also described in traditions as white like snow, pale in appearance. Ancient texts make note of this distinction in the book of Noah, 1 Enoch 106. Noah is described at birth as his body was white as snow, red as a rose, hair of his head was white as wool. Lamech, his father, feared Noah was not his child, but one of the offspring of the angels because of his striking whiteness. This passage showed that whiteness itself was what? A mark of otherworldly lineage tied to the watcher. So, like I said in the beginning, what Lamech saw on Noah was the glory. All right. And he looked white in appearance, and which is why his hair looked white and his eyes were bright and looked like it filled the whole room. Why? Because that was the presence of the Most High. That was the glory of the Holy Spirit sitting on him, just like the Holy Spirit will sit upon us in these last days. And the Bible says they're going to be drawn to the brightness of our rising. We're going to go back to supernatural things. And this is what the Bible seems to teach, right? So pale as snow, a sign of the lineage. The children of the watchers were marked by whiteness. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. If no flesh survived except Noah and his family, then the presence of giants after the flood points to the same rebellion happening again. The angels must have what? Repeated the sin, taking human wives and producing hybrids a second time. This explains why the children of the watchers, marked by whiteness, could reappear in later generations, showing up among Europeans as what? Pale, violent, and beyond, and bound to cannibalistic practices. All right. So am I saying all white folks or anybody with white skin or children of the watchers? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a lot of people who appear as white or children of the fallen. Okay. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying every single white person is a children of the fallen, but whiteness is one of the attributes of the children of the watchers. And that's why Lamech was concerned about Noah, because Noah appeared to be white because of the glory of the Most High on him. And as I said, Noah was a symbolic representation of the Messiah, or a Messiah figure saving people, right? Which he only saved 8 souls. And that's what the Bible says. Even in these last days, only a remnant is going to be saved. Same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. What was is what shall be. Same thing. And the whole world was what? Filled with violence, right? What's happening today? Let me ask y'all, family, who was running the world during the time of Noah? Because we know that angels and they seed was running things. And the whole world was filled with violence. What's happening today? Who running things today? And the whole world is what? Filled with violence. I'm just saying. Look, I know some of y'all don't want to hear this. Y'all don't like it, because y'all think I'm making everything about race. People always like to throw that. Oh, they're always making it about race. The Hebrew Israelites make it about race. No, y'all make it about race. We make it about ethnic group. And so when we talk about ethnicity and that relationship of that ethnicity with other people, then y'all got a problem. When we say that the Anglo-Saxons are the majority of those who probably fall in line with this whiteness, right? That the lineage of the watchers, then, we racist. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at the scriptures. I keep asking and nobody answers me. Do you believe the Bible? I ain't even asking if you believe the pseudepigrapha. I'm not even asking if you believe the Apocrypha. Do you believe what you call the Bible? Now, I believe all three. See, I don't walk that fence, right? I believe that pseudepigrapha is what we will call canon. I believe what the Apocrypha is canon. I believe what we call canon is canon, the 66 books. But that's because I spend the time in it and reading it. So markers of the children of the watchers. From Genesis 6, 1 Enoch, Jubilees and Jude. Unnatural origin. Their fathers were angels, their mothers human. Genesis 6:2, Enoch 7:2. Unusual appearance. Giants, men of renown, often described as having strange looks compared to normal humans. Genesis 6:4, 1 Enoch 106:2, where Noah's unusual whiteness shocks his father. Violent nature. They devoured men, beasts, and each other. Bloodshed and war defined them. Enoch 7:4-6. Who does this today? I'm just asking. Oppression and enslavement. They enslaved and ruled over mankind, teaching sorcery and domination. Enoch 7:5, Jubilees 10:5. Who fits these attributes, family? Corruption of knowledge. They taught forbidden sciences, weapons, astrology, enchantments, beautification, metalworking. Enoch 8:1-3. Once again, family, who fits the description? White giants in Europe. Here's a medieval tapestry. It's titled Wild Men and Moors, 1440. And it shows giant wild men, nearly naked with unkempt hair, attacking a castle defended by more civilized figures. The stark contrast in appearance underscores a powerful visual reversal. The attackers appear uncivilized, even monstrous, while the defenders are orderly. Now look close at this picture, family. On the left, you see a bunch of white giants attacking a castle of black folks. I'm just saying, you see a bunch of white giants attacking a castle full of black folks. Shall I point it out to you? Can we say black here? Black, 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 black. A bunch of white giants attacking a castle, wild men and more. I'm just saying. You can make it racial if you want. I'm just sticking with the history, sticking with what we see here, sticking with what the Bible says, sticking with what Enoch says. You come up with your own understanding. You can't prove me wrong. Historical alignment. When we match those markers to actual human history, only one racial line consistently fits the pattern of the Watcher's offspring. The line of Indo-European Caucasian people that emerged out of the north and spread through conquest. Why? Unnatural appearance. Ancient sources describe them as pale or white skin, with hair and eyes unlike the black and brown populations of the earth. This fits the shock of Noah's whiteness in Enoch 106, which was seen as a marker of angelic contamination. Violence and conquest. From the Scythians, Huns, Goths, and later Romans, up through European colonial empires. Their history is marked by what? Constant bloodshed and expansion through war. Oppression and slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, colonial domination of Africa, Asia, and Americas, all came through this same racial group. Corruption of knowledge. The Watchers were said to bring forbidden sciences. The Indo-European line has been the consistent channel of weaponization of knowledge from iron smelting in antiquity to modern nuclear and genetic technologies. Rule over the nations. Daniel's fourth beast kingdom, described as devouring the whole earth, matches the Roman European system that grew into Western world order. Who controls the world today, family? Is it Negroes? Is it black folks? Is it people of colors or not? Who controls the economic system, family? Who's causing all the wars? Who's been enslaving people? Who has an unnatural appearance? I'm just asking, contrary to the rest of mankind. Look, like I say, just because you have one of the attributes don't mean you part of the serpent line. I'm not saying that. You got to have all the attributes. Now, there's some of y'all that have all these attributes. I told you it's hard being a truth ministry. I'm not looking for friends. I'm looking for the Most High to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, coming to my rest. We ain't got a lot of time. Got to do the work while it's day. All right, so let's continue. The European taste for flesh and blood. From the medieval period into the 18th century, Europeans openly practiced medical cannibalism. Apothecaries sold powdered human skulls, ground bones, and human fat as remedies. Fresh blood was drunk at executions, especially for epilepsy. Historian Richard Sugg notes in Mummies, Cannibals, and Vampires that kings, popes, and physicians alike took part. The civilized classes of Europe normalized what the Book of Enoch condemned. When the transatlantic slave trade began, Africans saw this firsthand. Olawuda Equiano testified in 1789. I asked him if we were not to be eaten by those white men with horrible looks, red faces, and loose hair. Black folks ain't drink no blood. As a matter of fact, Ezra Alawi, it was against the law. The European taste for flesh and blood. Enslaved Africans feared Europeans would literally consume them because they witnessed how casually human bodies were treated. The rumors were not unfounded. There are records of slave owners making whips from human skin, fashioning clothing and shoes from the hides of slaves, and experimenting with African bodies as raw material. During slavery in America's testimony surfaced of whites using the fat of Africans as ointments or burning them in ovens. The monstrous tales were not exaggerations. They were extensions of Europe's own cannibal traditions. In other words, the behavior of the Nephilim described by Enoch, devouring flesh, drinking blood, treating human beings as material for consumption, resurfaced in the Atlantic world through Europeans. I'm just saying. Go read the book, The Delectable Negro. I'm just saying. Who fit the attributes? I'm not saying all of y'all do. I don't know. I'm just a teacher. I'm just being honest. You come to the final conclusion yourself. The Scythians, Herodotus, and later studies note brutal customs, drank blood, fashioned trophies from enemy skins. Scythians held sway over vast regions of the Eurasian steppe, known as formidable warriors and conquerors. Same people who enslaved us, same people who the Anglo-Saxons are supposedly descended from, same people that the Germans are descended from, same people that the Rev 2939 supposedly descended from, which is why you got a lot of craziness happening in the Middle East. But I'm racist. Who fits the attributes? I'm not saying everybody. I'm telling you, you got to determine if the attributes fit you. Slavery is vampirism. Plantation slavery resembled vampirism. Europeans drained Africans of labor and thrived on their suffering. Karl Marx, capital is dead labor that vampire-like only lives by sucking living labor. Is that not what Enoch said they did? All of these things? Predators. Africans saw it spiritually. To be captured, chained, and shipped across the ocean into death was to be preyed upon by beings who acted like predators than men. The fear that Europeans were cannibals was not just metaphor. It was recognition of their true nature. They were blood drinkers, clothed in human form. Am I lying? That's my question. Am I lying? I'm just saying. Like I say, I don't paint with a broad brush. I don't say all Gentiles can be saved. I don't think all white folks are descendants of the children of the Watchers. I think a lot of them are. That's why I say it's up for you to decide. It's up for you to decide where you fit. How many of them attributes fit you and your family? I'm just saying. Signs of Nephilim nature. The Nephilim corrupted the earth with violence. The slave trade, Congo Free State, and colonialism reflect their traits. Whiteness was emphasized as their mark, along with blood drinking and flesh devouring. Violence and dominion. The question is why? Why did one group of humanity normalize such acts while branding Africans as savages? Enoch provides a chilling clue. The children of the Watchers were marked by what? Whiteness. They were distinct in what? Flesh from the rest of humanity, and their appetites match their appearance. Is that not what we see today? Blood and flesh consumption was their signature. Violence and domination were their legacy. If some of those bloodlines survived the flood, passed through wives of Noah's sons, they may have reappeared among later peoples. But that ain't what happened. What happened was the angels came back again. When Europeans emerged on the stage of history, pale in color, relentless in conquest, and tied to cannibalistic practices, it bore the same marks. Could it be that many of them are descendants of the Nephilim, the pale seed of watchers surviving into modern time? I'm convinced. Look, here's the deal. Let's think about this for a second. In the beginning, with Adam and Eve, we had an invasion, right? It was Satan took on one of those animals called a serpent, possessed him, and caused Eve to sin. And then Adam sinned because he, following his wife. Later on, we have an invasion by the sons of God. 200 came down on Mount Hermon and had sex with women and produced giants. Stories we get the demigods. The Bible says even after that, right? Because it happened again, according to Genesis 6:4. It happened again. They came down, had sex with women, and produced giants again. So continuously throughout history, we have had giants. Even in some of the later historical texts, as I've shown in my book, on the continent of Africa, you had giants. You had giants in Africa, if you didn't know. So we continues to see we had giants. So then we continue all the way through to the 1800s and 1900s, and we find out about the serpent mounds in America, and they had giant skeletons, which they sent to the Smithsonian. And as we continue, we find out in the 1900s, mid to late, right, that you had people who were giants living in New York, living in some of these big cities. Where they at today, I can't tell you. They got the pictures. So we can keep tracing the presence of giants in our history from the very beginning. And you want me to believe they're not here today? All of a sudden they disappeared. All of a sudden there's no more giants. Or let's say children of the watchers, because I don't believe all the children of the watchers are giants today. But they still pale. Not just one of the attributes, but what about the blood drinking? What about the eating of flesh? What about the persecution? What about the corruption? What about the enslavement? What about the drinking of blood? What about all these attributes that we know that colonialists have done and do? What about the people that are taking all of these immigrants and putting them in detention facilities and separating them from their families? What about the people on the streets who claim to be police officers who pew our people in the streets? What about them? What about those who getting rid of our jobs and protections and getting rid of people health care and education? What about those evil? What about those evils? Those are attributes of the children of the watchers. I wonder who is it black folks? Is it Negroes portraying those? No, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's the Asians as much, right? Maybe a little of them, but who else? Who's causing all of the trouble? Who's corrupting the planet? Who's corrupting it? Who's corrupting the animals? I'm just asking, is that not what the Bible said the children of the watchers did? Work of destruction, 1 Enoch 15:8-12. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and upon the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies. They shall what? Afflict. Who's doing affliction today, family? Oppress. Who's oppressing today, family? Destroy. Who's destroying everything today, family? Do battle. Who's doing the battles? And work destruction on the earth and causing trouble. I'm just asking, who's causing it? They like to blame us, right? We like 13% of the population and claim us for the majority of the crimes in the U.S., but really that's not true. 70-something% of the crime is committed by them. Who's causing the trouble? Look at the attributes. Who fits? If the shoe fits, don't tell me nothing. If it don't fit, then you're acquitted. Corruption of earth. Enoch said the Nephilim corrupted the earth with their violence, and all flesh cried out against them. What better description of the transatlantic slave trade, the Congo Free State under Leopold, or the centuries of European colonialism? A trail of blood, bodies, and suffering. Is this not the attributes of children of the watchers? And Enoch emphasized the mark, whiteness. Noah's father Lamech feared his son was Nephilim because he appeared pale. If whiteness was associated with angelic human hybrids, then the appearance of pale nations tied to blood consumption cannot be ignored. Not just whiteness, but whiteness tied to blood consumption. Their actions, drinking blood, eating flesh, making shoes, coats from human skin, line up precisely with the sins of the Watcher's children. Once again, Yeshua says, you shall know them by their what? Fruits. You shall know them by their fruits. You shall know them by their fruits. What is their fruit, family? I'm just asking, am I lying? Am I making stuff up? By fruits, we discern who belong to Yahuah or who belong to Satan. We will know them by their fruits. The modern echoes, vampires in suits, rumors of elites harvesting adrenochrome echo old truths. Rulers thrive on the blood of others. The pale vampire archetype mirrors Europeans who enslaved Africans. Once again, we hear these stories of adrenochrome and the elite, the entertainers and stuff drinking adrenochrome. Y'all know what adrenochrome is, right? If you don't know, I'm gonna let the chat tell y'all. If y'all need to know, ask the people in the chat. I don't want to get into details. But once again, it is the same thing that the children of the Watchers have done. Every single attribute. Modern echoes of vampires in suits. Hollywood stars and global politicians are accused of drinking the blood of the young for vitality. Whether true or symbolic, the rumor carries an old truth. Some rulers thrive on the blood of others. It is Nephilim behavior repackaged in the modern world. The vampire in popular culture, pale and aristocratic, is the mirror of this history. It is not accidental that vampires are what? White, rich, and live in castles, feeding on the common people. The archetype is the memory of what Africans encountered, pale blood drinkers who crossed the seas to enslave them. I'm just saying. Do we ignore the people who fit these attributes? I'm just asking. Don't get on me, Christian. That's not love, you cowboy. Y'all all about skin color. I'm like, am I lying? Does not the comparisons fit? That's why I keep telling y'all that this world is in major trouble. Major trouble. Our lives are at stake, and I know y'all don't get it. Naming the monsters, Enoch describes pale children of the Watchers devouring flesh and blood. European history shows pale nations doing what? The same, especially in slavery and colonization. Vampire legends may be memories of the Nephilim. I'm just saying. Anglo-Saxons, King Charles, who's an Anglo-Saxon, mind you. King Charles III was publicly acknowledged that his family tree traces back to Vlad III of Wallachia, known as Vlad the Impaler, the 15th century ruler whose cruelty inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. Vlad's reputation for impaling enemies and his association with bloodshed made him the prototype for the vampire legend. Linking Charles III to Vlad ties the British monarchy, at least symbolically, to the most famous real-life vampire, the image of a modern king descended from the figure who inspired Dracula. Keeps alive the idea that vampiric bloodlines, both literal and metaphorical, still shape rulers today. Did I not show you that in the past that they were paying for the drinking of blood to heal illnesses? They would drink blood from the people who were executed. This their history books. I didn't write it. Did I not tell you who the enemy is? It's the Anglo-Saxons. What Enoch actually says, first Enoch 7:2-5, giants devoured mankind, animals, and drink blood. First Enoch 15:8-12, giants born of spirits and flesh became evil spirits, afflicting and destroying mankind. So they drink blood, they skin people, they eat people, they destroy mankind. And it white. I'm not saying on white folks. I got to keep saying that. If the shoe fit, wear it. If the shoe don't fit, it ain't you. Corrupt humanity. In Enoch, the children of the watchers are described as giants, violent and consuming both flesh and blood, 1 Enoch 7:3-5. They corrupted humanity, taught forbidden knowledge, and were eventually destroyed in the flood. Later texts say their spirits became demons that continued to afflict the earth, 1 Enoch 15:8-12. That imagery of tall, pale, blood-drinking beings has been linked by some to later myths of vampires or monstrous overlords. When Hitler called Germans the Aryan race, he drew on 19th century racial theories that spoke of tall, fair-skinned, blue-eyed people as the supposed pure stock of humanity. Is that a coincidence? That Hitler believed that humanity was this ideal of white folks with blonde hair, blue eyes, tall. And what did Hitler do? Hitler's Aryan race. Hitler considered themselves superior and destined to rule. If you place that side by side with Enoch's description of the Watchers' offspring as beings who were distinct from normal men, violent and oppressive, you can see why we have speculated that certain European groups like Germans or Anglo-Saxons could be viewed as carrying that same spirit or bloodline. I mean, we see it, right? Every day, their whole history. Nephilim attributes. 1. Physical description. Enoch's Nephilim are different in appearance and power from other men. Aryan theory, promoted by Hitler, described Germans and related Northern Europeans as distinct, with exaggerated height, strength, and purity. Both share the theme of being set apart physically. 2. Superiority ideology. The Nephilim in Enoch dominated, enslaved, and destroyed others. Hitler's vision of Aryans mirrored this, right? He mirrored this, imagining a master race that should rule over other peoples. The ideology of domination ties them together. Is that not what they're trying to do today? World government, new world order, where it's unipolar or multipolar. Number 3, violence and bloodshed. The Nephilim shed blood and consumed it. In European history, from colonialization to slavery, bloodshed against Africans was extreme. The Nazis also carried out the big G word on a massive scale. This repeats the same pattern of what? Blood, guilt, and destruction seen in Enoch. If you take Hitler's claim at face value that Germans were Aryans and place it against the ancient backdrop of fallen angel seed mixing with humans, then his pride in Aryan identity may unintentionally echo the same origin of the Nephilim. And remember, Hitler got technology from somewhere too, right? Supposedly alien, right? That would fit the idea that their obsession with purity, domination, and bloodlines is not just cultural, but could reflect remnants of a corrupted lineage described in the book of Enoch. So we see all of these things, right? And we just sort of gloss over it because we don't want to offend. We don't want to offend anybody. And here's the thing. I try to be careful with what I do, right? I'm not trying to paint everybody with a single brush, because some Israelites do that. Capitalism and giants. Enoch doesn't use the word Aryan, of course, but the description of the Nephilim is stark. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. Is that not what capitalism does? Is that not what the Western empires do? Consume all the acquisition? And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Now, y'all notice all of the food disappearing, right? They're taking all the food. Oh, this happened. It got this salmonella. It got this. It has that, right? And all the food be disappearing. I'm just saying, I don't know what's happening. And we also see that this whole new introduction of new types of food, right? Through technology, taking your dookie and making the steak out of it. I'm just saying. Attributes of the Nephilim. Capitalism is an economic system built on private ownership and profit, where wealth grows through the labor and resources of others. Its history shows a pattern of expansion by consuming not only land and goods, but also the work, time, and lives of people, often reducing them to tools for accumulation. This mirrors the account in Enoch, where the giants born of the watchers devoured all things from the earth's produce to human flesh, leaving nothing untouched in their appetite. Both reveal a system of relentless consumption that thrives at the expense of others. Have y'all ever thought that the reason why you have so many people starving around the world, and why when they have extra food and stuff, are just theoretical, and they're not giving the food to those who are poverty stricken, and sort of like what happened during Ethiopian wars and all these things, all of the poor people, why they don't really get food? Because maybe, just maybe this whole system that was built, right, this simulation, this sim city, right, this matrix was all built to be a huge farming system where we run things and get resources and process food items for them folks, whether they're giants or not giants. Some of them today, I believe, are not giants, but they are children of the watchers. So just as the children of the watchers consumed all the resources, consumed all the acquisitions of men, is that not what's happening today? They consume your labor. They consume the food you grow. Every dollar you make, they take from you and consume. I'm just saying, do they not consume all the acquisitions of men? I'm just saying, who the attributes fit? I'm just asking. I'm not going to ignore it because it makes you feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to ask the question because some people are going to be like, he's racist. I'm not trying to be racial. I'm trying to be honest. Look, this is the reason why we're in this situation, because we don't believe the scriptures and we don't believe what the scripture says about what's happening today. The mythology of the Aryans. Aryan means noble in Sanskrit and Persian. In India, it was cultural, not racial. 19th century Europeans distorted it into a racial myth of tall, fair Northern European. Now, isn't it interesting? Once again, we got the Anglo-Saxon doing what? Stealing identity. Once again, stealing identity. So they're Aryans. They're Israelites. They're Native American Indians. They're the Egyptians. They're everything. Once again, stealing identity. Real Aryans. In the Rig Veda, ancient Indian hymns dated around 1500 to 1200 BCE, the Arya were a cultural and linguistic group that identified themselves as distinct from the Dasa or Dayesu, often dark-skinned local people they encountered. It was a social and religious marker, not a race in the modern sense. When Indo-Iranian tribes moved into India and Iran, they carried this term as part of their self-identity. The Persians, for example, called their land Aryanim, Vaya, and the land of the Aryans. In Indian tradition, Arya was supposed to mark someone who followed correct ritual, honored the gods, lived nobly. It was not limited to skin color or appearance. Ancient Indians were diverse, and nothing in the original text suggests the Indians were tall, blonde, or blue-eyed people, but they stole somebody's identity. Again, the European reinvention of the Aryan. In the 1800s, Germans and English used Aryan to mean a white master race. Hitler adopted it, making it a myth of racial supremacy. Now, my question to you, fam. The Germans, the Aryans, identified with a white master race with blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Which is similar to the description of Noah, right? Being white and bright, right? And all this stuff. Light eyes, right? Looking like the children of the watchers. The Germans say they this master race, right? Which is descendants, they say, of the Aryans, which is an identity I just showed you that they stole. But yet at the same time, they're not the children of the watchers, but yet they had this advanced tech, right? The Germans, the SS, the Nazis had this advanced tech. They had flying saucers, they had rockets, they had everything, right? But they're not children of the watchers, right? But they claim to be descendants of a white master race. And they oppress, they killed, they drank the blood, but they're not the children of the watchers. That's part 2, Brother Dave. The master race. In the 19th century, European scholars studying Sanskrit noticed the similarity between Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, and Germanic and Celtic languages. They proposed the idea of an ancient Indo-European people. Some of them wrongly assumed these Aryans must have been tall, fair, Northern European types who spread civilization into India and elsewhere. This theory got distorted into racial ideology. German and English writers in the 1800s began using Aryan to mean a supposed white Northern European master race. By the time Hitler adopted it, Aryan had been cut free from its Indian roots and turned into a myth of racial supremacy. Now, my question to you, who's taking this Aryanism and this idea of white supremacy and making it all about supremacy? And who's oppressing people? Who's putting people in detention camps today, separating mommies and daddies from their children? Who's removing all of the benefits that help society in the United States? People who what? Want to bring and make America great again. I'm sorry, make America white again. Who's the people that's trying to implement a form of Christianity, which is white supremacist Christianity, in this country? Who's all concerned about white supremacy, the master race? I'm just asking. Who are the people that want to make sure that we have nothing, steal stuff from us, put us in prison, right? As you know, the end goal is to kick us out of here. Y'all know, I hope you know this already. Who is it? Is it coincidence that it's the white supremacist tied back to the Anglo? Look, your current president, what ethnic line is he from? He's a German. I hope you know that. He's Anglo-Saxon. I hope you know it. Is it all coincidence? And it's all tied to white supremacy. Now, my other question to you is, let's see if the people in the chat can answer this question. Okay, and I know y'all know it. After World War II, during Operation Paperclip, who did they bring back to the United States, family, and put in charge of NASA and many other scientific programs? I'm just asking. But yet we see from the pseudepigrapha that all of this technology was given by the Watchers. All of the technology was given by the Watchers. Hitler had advanced technology for his time. And America took those same Nazi scientists and brought them over here and put them in charge of guess what? NASA and other governmental institutions. But to think that America has not been taken over by Nazis would be ludicrous. More identity theft. If we read Enoch as describing the rise of hybrid beings who were powerful, destructive, and not like normal men, and we see Hitler exalting Aryans as a special superior race, then you can make a parallel. The Aryan myth becomes a modern retelling of being set apart from other humans, just as the Nephilim were set apart from mankind. The fact that Indians who used the word Arya never looked like Hitler's Aryans shows the myth was hijacked. The European version of Aryan was racialized, distorted, and weaponized. Same thing they did to our identity. That distortion itself feels like the kind of deception linked to Nephilim influence. Taking an ancient word for noble and turning it into a bloodline ideology of the mean. Look, let's get it straight. Your white Christian pastors and your white Christian scholars and apologists and seminary students are not going to teach you this, because they fall into the category of possibly being descendant of these people. Like I say, I'm not saying they all are. Nazi occultism and the Thule Society. The Thule Society blended nationalism with occultism. They taught Aryans descended from a lost homeland, echoing Enoch's hybrids who brought forbidden knowledge and domination. Once again, who fits the attributes? I told you it's the Anglo-Saxons, it's the Germans. Who descendants of the Anglo-Saxons? The Germans. It's the French. It's the Germans. It's the British. It's the Dutch. It's the Swiss. It's the Afrikaners. It's the what's the other one? Belgium. German occultism. The Thule. Who invaded Africa and who had the scramble for Africa? Who set up the scramble for Africa? It was the Germans, the Anglo-Saxons. It ain't no coincidence. I told you who the enemy is. German occultism. The Thule Society, founded in 1918 in Munich, was a secretive group that blended German nationalism with occultism. It drew heavily on theosophy and Ariosophy, the mystical belief in an Aryan root race. Members believed in hidden masters, underground realms, and a coming apocalyptic struggle where Aryans would triumph. Y'all see this story here? This is biblical, but they win. The devil win. The Nephilim win. But this, come on now, is this coincidence? These are German occultists who are white supremacists who believe that they're going to overcome God. Hitler's early circle, including Rudolf Hess and Alfred Rosenberg, oh, look at that name, were influenced by this society. They taught that Aryans descended from a lost northern homeland, often identified as Hyperborea, Thule, or Atlantis. This mythical homeland was imagined as an advanced godlike civilization that collapsed, leaving its descendants, the Aryans, scattered across the world. That narrative mirrors Enoch, powerful hybrid beings, not entirely human, bringing forbidden knowledge, dominating mankind, and then being destroyed by judgment. Now, look at this connection here. Look at the symbology of a people who was excommunicated, kicked out of their land. This time it happens to be the descendants of Aryans, who are really descendants of the Nephilim, right? Who were scattered across the world, just like the Israelites, right? Who happened to take on the identity of the real Aryans, who also happened to take on the identity of the real Ezra Alawi. I'm just saying. You ain't gonna get this nowhere else. Theosophy and root races. Blavatsky described Aryans as a divine root race. Her ideas fed into Ariosophy and Nazi race doctrine, linking Aryans with what? Hybrid lineage. I told you, some of these people are not fully human. Even the Germans know. Even the Anglo-Saxons know. Even Blavatsky knew. Is this not what the Bible say? Is this not what Enoch says? Is this not what Jubilee say? Is this not what the Apocrypha teach? But you got these other people who come from a different perspective, that they are the superior race and that they will rule the world and that they are descendants of an advanced white race, which Enoch described as white or pale. Is it coincidence? Helena Blavatsky, founder of Theosophy, late 1800s, created a system of root races. She said that the fifth root race was the Aryan, descended from divine beings. She described earlier races as giants, reptilian, or semi-spiritual. This theory fed directly into Ariosophy and then Nazi myth. The key point is that the Aryans were not just a race in this mythology. They were a chosen hybrid lineage with powers and destiny, almost a modern echo of Nephilim. I mean, it's pretty much identical to the story of the Nephilim. Coincidence? And they happen to what? Be the ones advancing with high tech. It was the Germans. The English are the same as the Germans. The Western nations, the French, all the same as the Germans. They're descendants of the same people, the Franks, right? America, descendants of the same people, the English, which is the Germans, the Franks, and all of them, they all family, right? They're all the same people. But guess what? They all happen to be what we call modern first world nations with high tech. Modern first world nations who bring in the computer, the internet, AI, DNA, all overnight. I told y'all in my other show, that, they claim to have been visited by aliens, and we're going to talk about that probably in part 2 a little bit. I already talked about it a little bit with Eisenhower. Symbols of blood and domination. The Nazis obsessed over blood purity. The SS oath was to blood and honor. Their rituals and mass bloodshed mirrored Nephilim traits. SS symbols, the Nazis tied this myth to blood. The SS oath was not to Germany, but to blood and honor. Himmler ran the SS almost like a priesthood of a new religion. Westfelberg Castle became their cultic headquarters, with ceremonies designed to connect the SS Knights back to ancient Aryan gods. Blood sacrifice, ancestral purity, and domination of lesser peoples were not just politics, they were part of a mythic destiny. In practice, that destiny manifested as mass bloodshed, which matches Enoch's Nephilim, beings who devoured flesh and drank blood. Now, think of this for a second. Now, this will answer your question. Why America is always fighting? Why America is always at war? Why the Western European nations always at war? Why they always deleting people, mommies and daddies and civilizations, and removing people's history, removing their, from the Smithsonian, right? Removing any reference to them as being a people. Look, with Trump getting rid of the Smithsonian and trying to hide everything dealing with slavery, he don't have a plan for us being here. I hope you know that. I hope you know that. He's not removing our history from America just for the sake that we're gonna still here and present our history. Y'all think he's gonna let us stay here and present our history while he's trying to hide our history? This is what the Nephilim do. This is what the children of the Watchers do. Blood sacrifice, ancestral purity. That's why they want to have their own little communes. They don't want to be around black folks and people of color because they are a unique superior race who are descendants of the Aryan gods. They don't want to tell you that though, because they're Christians. Christianity is white supremacy. Even if you black teaching it, Christianity is white supremacy. It is. The religion of Christianity is white supremacy. I hope you know that. Research it for yourself. You ain't got to believe me. Aryan as superhuman. Hitler. The Aryan is the Prometheus of mankind, from whose bright brow the divine spark has sprung. This imagery mirrored Nephilim mythology of a semi-divine race destined to dominate. Prometheus, a titan in Greek mythology, played a central role in what? An early story of humanity. He is remembered for defying the Olympian gods by stealing fire and granting it to humankind, an act that symbolized the gift of technology, knowledge, and civilization. Some traditions go further, crediting him with forming the first humans out of clay, known for his cleverness and loyalty to mankind. Prometheus is often regarded as the originator of the arts and sciences and as a protector of humanity. Is this not what Enoch says about the children of the Watchers? Talk about the giants teaching mankind all these things, the technologies of war, women making makeup, all of this stuff, roots, which will be medicines. Coincidence, you say? And who happens to have the technology today of all of these things? Descendants of Anglo-Saxons. Coincidence? Do you not know in the early part of the 1900s, they already had electric cars and electric scooters Did you know that? Give me one if you know that too, if you don't. We sort of talked about it in the past. Some of y'all may be new. How come all of the ones with the advanced technology happen to be descendants of Anglo-Saxon? Am I reaching? They had the flying blimps. That's what we call them today. They used to call them dirigibles or whatever. Used to fly all over the place, but then they got rid of those. I wonder why. They said, oh, because one of them blew up. Well, hey, we got how many planes blew up, y'all, and get rid of those? I'm telling y'all. What you were conformed to believe is a reality that they shaped your mind to believe. If you believe the Torah, if you believe the scriptures, you can figure this out and see who the enemy is. You can figure this out instead of saying, oh, well, they're all not racist. Maybe they are not individually, but as a people group. And some of their people, as I showed you in the beginning, are coming out telling you the truth. But y'all still don't want to listen to them. Like the woman I showed you who said they don't want to be your friend. They want to use you. That was a white woman. I didn't say it. She did. Oh, well, they helped us during the civil rights movement. No, they didn't. They took control of the movement and guided it the way they wanted. Don't get it twisted. We didn't tear. Yahushua says the enemy sowed tares while men slept. Matthew 13:25. Tares, Zazaniah, look almost identical to wheat in their early growth, but at maturity, their fruit is toxic and distinguishable. So what is that? The tares are toxic. Can we repeat after me, family? The tares are what? Toxic. They're toxic. This is more than a metaphor for bad people. Seed imagery in scripture usually refers to lineage, bloodline, or offspring. Genesis 3:15 sets the stage. The seed of the woman versus the seed of the serpent. That polarity runs through the whole Bible. But yet the Bible says, leave them till the end so that the angels can do the separation. How come you got to leave them till the end? Can't we tell who they are? Why we got to wait? Because we got to wait to see the fruit. We got to wait till the wheat produce fruit. We got to wait for the tares to produce fruit. A good tree cannot bear or produce bad fruit. A bad tree cannot produce good fruit. They've always had bad fruit. The fruit is toxic. What is their fruit, family? Bloodshed, blood drinking, eating flesh, making clothes out of flesh, putting babies as alligator bait, wars, pedos, alphabets, lollipops. What's the fruit? They want to block out the sun. What's the fruit? They want to give you seedless watermelons. What's the fruit? They want to put these IUDs in Africans in Africa so that they can't have babies for 8 years and probably longer. What's the fruit? It's all death. Yes, it's genocide. Like an apple cider vinegar. What's the fruit? It's toxic. What people in their right mind want to put something in their head to control them? What people in their right mind want to put a nanobot in their body so they can crawl around there and make you a superhuman? That's what she said, right? What people in their right mind want to say, so long as you're happy, you can be with whatever you want? What people in their right mind? Have y'all seen the videos lately? I've been getting all of these feeds on TikTok about certain people not liking to take baths. I'm just saying, I don't know. But what's the fruit? There's no good fruit. It's always been toxic. How do you recognize the tares? The fruit. Genetic corruption. Genesis 6 shows the watchers corrupting the creation through Nephilim offspring. 1 Enoch 7 says these giants consumed men, beasts, and birds, and then oppressed what? Humanity. So what did the giants do? They consumed men. Are they not doing that? Are people not finding humans in food? I'm just saying. Beasts and birds, and then oppress humanity. Are we not being oppressed? Have we not been oppressed? The theme is genetic contamination, a counterfeit seed introduced into the field. Yahush's statement, as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be, Matthew 24:37, points us back to this corruption as a parallel for the end times. If wheat is Israel's holy seed, tares could represent an unnatural seed line, not just wicked neighbors. Black folks be like, why they hate us? Black folks be like, we ain't do nothing. Black folks be like, all we want to do is barbecue and dance and party and have fun and worship the Most High. What do we do to them? Why they don't want to live around us? Why do they discriminate against us? Why did they burn down our buildings? Why did they kill our kids? Why do we go through all of this stuff? You got the answer now, don't you? They're not like us. Didn't Kendrick tell you? And look, like I said, if the shoe fit, then wear it. If it don't fit, it ain't you. A delayed harvest. So if terror simply meant evil nations, the angels could cut them down at any time. The fact that the separation is postponed until the end shows something more complex. Wheat and tares grow together until maturity. Only then are they distinguishable. This is both moral and physical. Yahuah allows both lines to mature to fullness, the righteous to glory, the corrupt to judgment, Revelation 14:15-20. The angels are told not to uproot early, lest the wheat be harmed, Matthew 13:29, which suggests their roots are entangled, pointing to deep intermixture of peoples and bloodlines. So if we're dealing with peoples and we're dealing with bloodlines, and the fact that we got to wait till we see the fruit at the end of the age, that's the only time the angels can come and separate them, because really the angels could have separated them way before then. So if we really got to wait till all of these nations produce fruit to do the separation, then that means there's some intermingling, there's some mixture, there's some entanglement. There's once again a corruption of the bloodline of humanity. Even more so today after eating a lollipop. I told you this world is in danger. Don't you see it? Everything I'm saying, you can see it with your eyes today. Maybe 10 years ago, you couldn't see it that clearly. But today, you should have no reason not to see it. It's right smack dab in your face. The only difference you don't see is that you got like 10, 12, 20-foot giants walking down the street. You don't have that yet. But isn't it interesting that they keep trying to promote to you this idea of an alien invasion, right? And now they're saying some of the aliens are African. They look like African Americans, not Africans, mind you, not just Africans, but the aliens that come in happen to look like African Americans. Really? Really? What's this whole UFO bull crap, right? What is it with this whole phenomenon that, we supposed to in the past, anybody believed in the alien UFO phenomenon and abduction was crazy. But now all of a sudden they want us to believe it. What is this? We are in the last days, and it's a final path to the final deception. I'm telling you, the devil is busy. The dragon is looking for whom he may devour. I told y'all we in some serious stuff. But you got to understand your enemy. See, this isn't so easy. Like, with Christianity say, just believe. Just believe. Oh, I'm sitting here. I'm believing, Lord. I'm believing, Lord. But what you doing? What's your role in this plan, in the Most High's plan? We know what Israelite is. Israelite, the Israelites, the Yasharal are supposed to be a light to the Gentiles. Oh, yeah. Oh, look, I'm gonna tell you, I got some stuff. Y'all saw the video I did on the menorah? Did y'all see that? All of this stuff comes full circle. Because that same glory that you saw on Noah, that you saw on Messiah, that you saw on an Ancient of Days, the Most High Yahuah, the same glory that you saw on Moses, gonna be on us. Why? Because we literally gonna be a light to the nations. Come on, I'm serious. We gonna be flaming like those, what they call those, they call it the church, but it's the assemblies. It's the 7 candlesticks, which is representing the Israelites, right? Which is they're going to be a light shining forth the glory of the Most High and bringing glory to the King. We could go deep. We could look, and so the contrast that with the darkness. Contrast that with Isaiah 60, arise and shine for your light is come. Why? Because darkness covers the earth, gross darkness to people, and the only way out is for the Israelites to shine. Come on, I'm telling you. If you get rid of Christianity, it all makes sense. Cross boundaries. The children of the Watchers were born when angels crossed their boundary and mixed their nature with humans, creating hybrid species never intended by Yahuah. Genesis 6, 1 Enoch 7. This was the first corruption of the seed when one kind was fused with another. The same pattern is repeating today under the name of science, as DNA splicing, gene editing, and transhumanism push humanity into the same forbidden knowledge. Just as the Watchers taught men secrets of heaven they were not meant to know, modern technology now tampers with the genetic order Yahuah established, proving that the days of Noah have returned. Jubilee 7, verse 24. And they, the Watchers' offspring, began to fornicate with the beast and birds and all that moves and walks on the earth. And they taught what? The mixing of animals of one species with another in order therewith to provoke Yahuah. Can we say CRISPR gene editing technology? Who has the technology, family? Who's doing the gene editing, family? Who's creating the seedless watermelons, family? Who's creating the implants in people's heads to control them, family? Who's creating the lollipops for people to eat, family? It ain't us. What are the attributes of the children of the Watchers? Oppression, enslavement, bloodshed, blood drinking, blood eating, flesh eating, consumption and overconsumption of food. Who's trying to destroy the Most High's creation by blocking out the sun? It ain't us. Who fits the attributes of the children of the Watchers? Where did all this technology come from? Where did CRISPR come from? How come they can edit a gene and replace it with another gene? Who created this? It wasn't us. Looking in the mirror, just as the African Israelites or Israelite alone fulfill every Deuteronomy 28 curse, we fulfill every single one. Prove us wrong. If you don't believe with the people, prove us wrong, because you can't. Just as the African Israelites or Israelite alone fulfill every Deuteronomy 28 curse, the Caucasian Indo-European line alone fulfills every marker of the Watchers' children, their physical features, their violent dominion, their role in enslaving Israelite, and their use of knowledge to corrupt and dominate all mirror what Genesis and Enoch says about the Nephilim. Am I lying? Yes or no? Come on now. Am I lying? Yes or no? Yeah, let's not talk about the transplanting pigs' hearts and livers and all that foolishness. Who's the children of the watchers? Who fits every attribute? It ain't us. We fit the Deuteronomy 28 curses. It's the Caucasian Indo-European line that fulfills every marker of the watcher's children. I'm not lying. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, okay? Prove me I'm wrong, Christian. Prove me I'm wrong, Gentiles. Who fits the curses of Deuteronomy 28 and who fits this profile or attributes of the watcher's children? Y'all know Negroes, descendants of slaves, fit every single Deuteronomy 28 curse, every single one. And Caucasian Indo-European fits every single marker of the watcher's children. Like I say, I'm not saying that if you happen to be white, that you one of the watcher's children. I'm just saying, if you part of this, if you hate Israel, you hate Ezra Alawi, you don't want to see us rise, you don't want to recognize our history, you want to ignore our history of enslavement and persecution, you don't want us to get our fair share for our lost labor, all these things, then maybe you part of that line. For some reason, you hate black folks and you don't want to live around black folks, maybe you part of that line. You call us the N-word all the time and stuff, right? Behind our backs, maybe you part of that line. Maybe for some reason you over there with your boys and y'all be yapping it up and all y'all do is talk about us and being DEI and calling us woke. Maybe you part of that line. Who fits or fulfills every marker of the watcher's children? Caucasians and Indo-Europeans. This ain't about race. This is about truth. I told y'all. It ain't easy teaching truth. Everybody don't want to hear it. I try to be balanced in my teaching. I don't cast all of y'all in hell. I don't paint all y'all as Nephilim watchers' children. A lot of y'all are, I think. But that's up for you. You know, you're going to be able to determine that. You and the Most High, your fruit. What's your fruit? Is it hatred? Is it persecution? Is it the deleting of people? Look at the people in the Middle East and all those mommies and daddies in that location with a G. That's watcher moves right there. No sympathy. You ever wonder why, you know, you look at our history and they hung us from trees and they took pictures and sent it to each other? That's watcher children markers right there. You know, they used to cut off certain things and stuff and send them to each other or use them, you know, and I don't even want to get into the details, but that's watcher children markers. What kind of people could go to church on Sunday and come out and hang out an innocent man on a tree and take pictures and smile like you just had a barbecue? That's watcher children markers. How come y'all haven't done anything about all of these innocent immigrants being put in detention facilities or concentration camps? How come you ain't do nothing about it yet? That's watchers children markers. You can't empathize. That's watchers children markers. You're violent. That's watchers children markers. You're hateful. That's watchers children markers. Now, if y'all think I'm teaching stuff, then go ahead. Prove it. So, in the end, we know that there's this hybrid race according to history. And so in part 2, because like I said, this is part 1, this is to be continued, we're going to talk about Superman, the Ubermensch, right? And that's who they are, right? They claim to be a superior race with white skin, descendants what? Of these Aryan gods. And then we have Kal-El, which is what Superman's name is, right? Kal-El, right? Supposedly of El, or God, which would be a fallen angel, like Raphael. Kal-El, Superman is a fallen angel. And look. And the Nazis want to be superhuman. The Freemasons want to obtain godhood through technology. The Freemasons want to become transhumanists and try to make us that way too, so they could control us and make us real NPCs. That's what they want. They want to make us real NPCs. I hope you know that. You take that mark, that's why you ain't gonna be saved, because you ain't gonna have no free will. That's why they putting all this stuff in your food, right? Have y'all seen all the people that ain't here no more after eating a lollipop? Because they're making way for the Superman, the Ubermensch. Kal-El means voice of God. Which God? Which God? The Ubermensch, the Superman who followed the Aryan God. They've been telling y'all straight in your face. I don't know what to tell y'all, but this is truth. I'm telling y'all. Y'all know it's true. Y'all know everything I didn't say it today. And this is just part one. Wait till I come in with part two. I got a lot of stuff to cover, but I don't think we got a lot of time in this place. I ain't gonna lie. Like I say, if we make it to 2026, that'll be the blessing of the Most High. But do y'all know how many people ain't make it out of 2024 and 2025? Like I asked y'all before, y'all know how many people in your family and your relatives and your neighbors who ain't here no more that you knew like a month or two ago, they gone today? These people are at full-fledged war. Why? Because these are the markers of the Watcher's children: to oppress, to enslave, to consume, to delete, to eat blood, to eat flesh. They are vampires. They are consumers of resources. I'm just saying, who doing it? It ain't us. But they accuse us of being the most violent people on the planet, or at least in America. But we're racist. I think not. Well, fam, that's all I got. Hope y'all like this. If y'all like, share, subscribe. If you like this show, if you want to support us, you can go to tellministry.com, click on the donations tab. If you want to give, you can do Cash App, $TOTW7101. Look, y'all the only ones that can support this ministry. They're not gonna do it, right? If y'all don't like what we do, just let me know, right? Because the Most High will going to be done regardless. I'm just saying. Our people got to understand that this warfare we're in is a complex game. Like I said, it is 3D multi-level chess. And most people can't see it. Like I said, most people can't play regular 2D chess. But 3D multi-level chess, forget it. That's what we're dealing with. These people are slick, very intelligent in how to handle evil things. And they build us in these cages called civilization, the Sim City. And they put the laws and the rules in place so we can't go this way or go that way. We got to go this speed. We can't rule over ourselves. We can't grow our own food. We got zoning laws here, zoning laws there, but they could spray us. And we got to try to avoid and live in the Sim City while they try to destroy our land, destroy our food, destroy our air, and make us fight each other. And then they're going to send zombies our way, metaphorically, who look like white supremacists with their pew-pews and their ice, baby. This is what we're dealing with. You ain't going to get this nowhere else. I'm just telling you. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah. Pray for this ministry, fam, because, what I've done and what I've been doing is exposing the hidden works of darkness. And ain't nobody else doing it like this because they're going to hide some stuff. I don't hide nothing. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the true Jerusalem, the lost kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Yahuah Veil, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land. Why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers? A land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey. Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Jacoby Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to a hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, The Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.